What's up, everybody? Welcome to Comedy Film Nerds.
I'm exhausted. Are you exhausted?
I'm a little exhausted, yeah. Yeah, this is episode 212.
212, yeah. But we're still doing it.
We're still doing it. We don't stop.
Shooting a movie, programming a festival, redoing a website, shipping out orders, and still, we're here. We're here.
Oh, maybe one of us should get major surgery.
Yeah,
just to,
to really slow things
take
down.
It up a notch. So yeah, this is a good business, this show, because I actually saw I saw two really cool movies when I was on the road, which was fun. Should I mention them now?
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, because sometimes when you're on the road, you don't get like the selection you normally do. You get like the
I was working in San Francisco, so
you actually had art theaters and different places you could go.
There was the near the Embarcadero Mall or whatever.
Yeah,
by the Punchline Comedy Club is an art house, where I saw The Railway Man, which we'll talk about, which is
excellent. So we're going to talk about The Railway Man, The Raid 2, and I'm going to talk about Singing in the Rain.
Yes,
because I saw that at the ArcLight on the big screen.
And our guest was going to talk about some superhero movies.
He sure is, and Need for Speed.
Well, first, I want to thank everybody that came out to see me at Wise Guys in Utah, and then Cobb's in San Francisco, Helium in Portland, Oregon, and then, of course, the Wow Hall in Eugene, Oregon. Fun shows, crazy 420 weekend with Doug Benson.
I'm sure.
At the Portland show, there was so much weed thrown on stage. It was ridiculous. Like, I took a picture of it. Like, golf ball size buds.
Could you make an igloo?
Yeah, I could have. I could have made a full outfit with it. It was unbelievable.
You could have been a Potkimo.
I could have a Potkimo. Yeah, that's a real word. So yeah, it was a super fun weekend. Thanks to everybody that came out.
I was actually in the Las Vegas.
In the Las
Vegas at the Improv. And I'd like to thank. There were a couple of Comedy Filmers fans, but not many. Not many. Because it's it's in the middle of and the show's anymore. It's a shame that let's just say the club's not what it used to be. But the thing that I did really enjoy. They put a giant Ferris wheel right next to it. Giant. It's the biggest one in the world now, like taller than the London one. And it's so huge that the cars are actually, you can fit 40 people in them.
Where is it?
It's right next to Harrah's. It's literally right there. And you can walk in and it takes 30 minutes to go around and you see all of Vegas from the top. It's amazing.
All right, Vegas.
So,
keep building.
Yeah, keep going. You're on the right track. Yeah, just keep making big things.
Go bigger. Go bigger. It's not bigger and glitzy enough.
Yeah, like it's like whenever somebody puts something up in Vegas, no one goes, you know what? That's a little much.
Yeah, it was too gaudy.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah,
maybe we shouldn't do that.
People who live in Vegas, they have no sense of that at all,
or they avoid the strip completely.
Right, but there's a lot of people. The people who live and work there, they never go, wow, that's too much.
It's just, it's like going to work at the factory.
Yeah, it's just like, it should be bigger.
Although I will say that was amazing. I'm going to recommend this. Anybody that goes to Las Vegas, go to the Mob Museum. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's like 3 floors in a restored old post office, and it goes through all of mob history, all the way from not just Vegas, but Hollywood and everything, how Hollywood got its tendrils into everything from the projectionists union, where they could shut down and shake people down, not only at the studios but also literally projecting the films. It's unbelievable, the history of how some of those politicians, they thought it was a myth that there was no mob that was had their tendrils into everything. They finally. After a couple of massacres in broad daylight, then maybe it exists.
I remember.
Yeah, maybe it exists.
When I was living in Chicago in the 90s, there was a big thing for casinos, right? So casinos started popping up, the riverboat casinos, the Indian casinos. And this lady, they were trying to get casinos in downtown Chicago, and this woman had a casino with a line through it. Casino. And I asked her, and I said, why don't you want casinos there? She goes, it'll bring the mob into Chicago. And I almost fell out of my chair laughing on the bus so loud. I was like, so you don't think there's mob here now? Have you ever heard anything about the city of Chicago? Who do you think built this town? Well, let's introduce our guest.
Let's do both.
We'll do both. We'll interview and introduce.
It's our first time on the program. Although second time booked.
Second time booked. First time he had to cancel because of the president.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Bigger name on the other line.
He has his own podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Alonzo Bodden.
Thank you. And I know that Ferris wheel you were talking about. I didn't go on that, but they built like a whole little mall thing in front of it. And there's a bowling place there that's huge. It's like this giant rock and roll bowling alley, but they have a stage and they like do music and shows in there, and they have a restaurant, and it's called like Brooklyn Bowl or something like that. I went into that when I was in Vegas last month. It was pretty cool. Saw a band called Galactic, which was great.
At the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. You're right. Vegas is just like, we got 8 inches of space. Well, we'll build something.
It'll go up.
That's what amazes me. You're like, there's no room left. They're like, there is. We'll build something
We'll
else.
figure it out.
We'll find it. We'll either blow something up or we'll squeeze it in.
Yeah, they're working on Sahara, right? They blew that up, and they're building something new down there.
Yep.
You know, the Riviera has to look around and say, okay, how long before we're gone?
And the Imperial Palace, right?
Gone. The Imperial Palace is
gone. Yeah.
It is now the quad. That's where the Ferris wheel
and stuff are.
Yeah.
Now, if you go up to the top of the Ferris wheel, this is what's really weird. There's a piece of the Imperial Palace left that they haven't demolished. It's like a little type pool and like a little like courtyard, but it's surrounded by the new stuff. So I don't know what their plans are for it. If there's like they're just waiting to demolish the rest of it.
Is that some old like law that was passed?
Yeah, some old person won't move.
Yeah.
Some guy's sweet who just won't leave. They're like, fine, we'll build a hotel around
it. And that's literally what it looks like. But you can only see that from the top of the Ferris wheel.
Maybe that's why they left it there.
Yeah. I'm always going to be seen from the top of the Ferris wheel. I helped build this town.
So what should we start talking about first? I'm actually curious.
Let's have Alonzo talk about his podcast.
Yeah, let's do that.
Real quick, my podcast is called Who's Paying Attention? And it's most of the time, 95% of the time, it's just me doing a stream of consciousness about the news that week. It can be political. It can be ridiculous news. The funniest thing we talked about on my latest episode, which is 75, is sex laws. Because we always hear about these old laws from like 1841 that have never been changed, right? But these are current. These are like legislatures have reviewed and didn't change or did change. They just changed the law in New Hampshire. Adultery is now legal. Up until last year, adultery was illegal. So on top of your divorce and everything else, you had to go to jail for a day for adultery. Louisiana, and why am I not surprised? No, but it was a law. But they just changed. But Louisiana, their legislature went through the laws and decided to keep the laws that ban crimes against nature, which include oral sex. So that's still illegal.
With a tree, though.
No, with a human. However, sex with a corpse, that's still legal in Louisiana. So you know, I love stuff like that because it's like we are the best and the worst country in the world at the same time. We do phenomenally great things, and then we have a rancher with a rifle protecting, quote, his land. Have you heard this story? This guy in Nevada, like this crazy right wing, and why do those words always go together? He's got this ranch, and he's been grazing his cattle on federal land. Like there's agreements, you pay the government rent, and you take it. He refuses to pay because his great grandparents, or whatever, had the land
owned a swimming pool in Vegas
before the Bureau of Land Management. So that's his argument. Like, well, we've been grazing this land forever. So he owes the government like $1 million and he won't pay. So the government was going to send people to collect the money. So a bunch of Tea Partiers show up with like machine guns, and we're patriots. We're going to protect the land. And they said the first thing we're going to do is put the women and children out front, so the government would have to shoot them first. And it's
what
like,
a bunch of noble heroes.
yeah, exactly. Oh, you're brave. You're just like the founding fathers. I think that's what they threw at the British. Women and children first,
and puppies
and again,
and
so
teeth. Yeah.
so we just have that going on. Nevada has that and the world's largest Ferris wheel, and that's why that's why I love my country. So that's kind of stuff I talk about, and it's really fun, and I do it on a semi-regular basis. I don't have a setup like this. I just got a microphone plugged into a Mac. To those listening, these guys got a whole studio going here, complete with gargoyles and dragons. So there's money spent on this one.
There's a lot of money spent in this garage.
Our gargoyle budget is higher than any other podcast.
We do have the highest.
And I do apologize for the last time I was scheduled. I was called that morning
to CNN.
Talk about, CNN wanted to talk about Barack Obama doing Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis, and then at the last minute, I got bumped because they thought they saw a piece of Flight 370 somewhere in the, God bless the people on that flight, and it's tragic. Yes. But at this point, like, look, you're not going to find it. It's in the ocean.
It's gone.
You know how big they literally have a robot that searches 15 square miles of the ocean floor a day, and there are only 18,000 square miles to be searched. So they might find it. Let it go. But I was bumped. So I bumped you for a bigger name, and then I was bumped for an airplane.
All right, well, let's get into it then. Let's talk about the movie you were going to talk about a month ago, The Need for Speed.
Need for Speed. Well, I'm a car nut. So when Need for Speed came out, I almost had to see it to see what they would do.
Did you play the game?
No, I'm not a gamer. Mm-hmm. I'm not a gamer. But in relation to Fast and Furious, right? Because that franchise really took a break for the tragedy of losing Paul Walker. I think they shut down production for a week.
Yes.
Like, oh man, we lost him. It's a shame. Can we CGI him? Yes. Yeah. All right, let's roll. So, Need for Speed was one of those movies you have to completely suspend disbelief. And you're like, you guys could have just, either write a script or just say, something, we don't have a script. We've got fast cars. Because when you have a movie where a guy's on a cross-country car chase and his friend is monitoring his activity while stealing helicopters along the way, you really need to suspend disbelief just a little. Is it that easy to steal a helicopter and just fly it around and mess with the Detroit police? You're monitoring the Detroit police from a stolen helicopter. It was fascinating. Absolutely, it was fascinating. And yet the CHP, the Highway Patrol, there was one scene where they stole a government helicopter. That's when he finally got caught, when he stole a military chopper. But then the Highway Patrol puts an end to it. Like, you stole a military chopper.
Yeah.
That was okay. But the Highway Patrol is like, there'll be no speeding in California. But it was fun. It was a fun movie. I don't think we'll be starting a franchise.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what
the weird thing is, the video game franchise has been around for years.
$1 billion. But see, with the video game, you don't have to
steal a helicopter,
create a script and characters. You just play your driving. That's the difference.
And this is where I think we've talked about why the Fast and Furious movies, the last two, have been awesome, because they just didn't. There's no pretense with those films.
They get what they're doing.
They get what they're doing.
And they know that you get it.
Big ridiculous. They're like, okay, whatever. You got to go capture the thing with the guy. Great. Go. Just crazy. Who cares about physics?
Yeah.
And that's why, and some of these other movies, they can never figure that out.
Cars, trains, airplanes. Let's mix them all together.
Let them all fight with bikinis. Go.
Yeah, that's it. It's a formula. It's like fast cars, lots of guns, hot girls. That's it. And just go. And then Vin Diesel will Vin Diesel will mumble
his way through
it. And the Rock will flex.
Yes.
And I think
everyone's shirt is too tight.
Yeah. My favorite thing, and I'm not a big, I'm a Tyrese Gibson fan in the sense that I admire his career because it's based on ripping his shirt off and looking angry. Like that's all he does in any movie, and God bless him because he's made millions of dollars.
I would gladly have that career.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But the fact that he was making fun of The Rock and doing baby oil jokes was definitely worth seeing Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
Just that was good. Because, you know, in real life, you want to say that whenever The Rock walks in the room. Like, do we have enough baby oil for the man? Just
There's my favorite scene in that movie, one of my favorite scenes, is where The Rock just walks into their bad guy lair, and they're all doing their various tasks, fixing a car, doing computers, one guy's making bombs or whatever, and he just walks in and goes, "Lock it down!"
Yeah.
And nobody stopped or did anything. They all just kind of looked over their shoulder and kept doing what they were doing.
He's got a great sense of humor. Like you can see, like in the different movies that he does. There was one. This was a kids movie, and it was a lot better than I thought it would be. He was in that kids movie, The Tooth Fairy, and it looked horrible. But when I actually saw it with my kids, it was actually kind of funny. And there was a scene where he's getting to be a tooth fairy, and he has to talk to the equipment guy, like the queue, to get all the Tooth Fairy gear, and it's Billy Crystal. And Billy Crystal is just making fun of him the entire time. And he looks at him and he goes, "You have the eyes of a shark, only deader."
I think if you come out of wrestling, you have to have a...
And the fact that he has such a good sense of humor makes those jokes even funnier, because he can play off them and against them. It was really funny. And then him and one of the guys from The Office, the co-creator. Oh, God, the guy that created it with...
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, Ricky Gervais. The Stephen Merchant, I think it was. Yeah. And he just literally go after each other, just the way their physical appearances. Like he calls them like a giraffe, and they go back and forth about. But if you have kids and you have to sit through a kids movie, it's worth seeing. So The Tooth Fairy. But
do you know that
The Rock is great?
That ended him doing kids movies.
That one did?
Really?
Yeah, because he was getting too associated with that because he did that one. He did
too many of them.
Yeah, he did too many of them, and he kind of lost his cred as action hero wrestler guy. So that's when he went back to doing the action movies.
The smartest thing is, you do one. That's all you have to do. And then you go back to your bread and butter. But that's true. He did like 2 or 3 of them. There was one where he was a football player,
right?
With a young
with
kid.
a little girl.
Yeah. Then I think there was another one too.
See, Vin Diesel, he only played a babysitter once,
and that was it.
And then he said, "I got to get back to mumbling."
Yeah,
mumble in a tank
cars.
I got to ruin.
Vin Diesel doesn't own a shirt.
Yeah, I got to ruin movies in every genre.
Good for him. So.
God bless him.
So Need for Speed. There was no need for the movie, but it'll come out. When it's out on video or Netflix or HBO, you'll see it.
Sure,
you'll see it.
Now, The Railway Man, you saw, Graham. So tell us about this movie. I'm actually not that familiar with this movie.
This movie is based on a book. It's a true story that was. Let me get the story of it. It's Eric Lomax is the actual British soldier who was a POW with the Japanese in World War II, and this is basically his story. And so the movie is, I thought it was a great film, and I'm curious as to why they're releasing, I mean, I don't know, it's not a wide release, but why they're releasing it now, because this movie...
Who stars in it?
It stars Colin Firth is in it, and Nicole Kidman and Stellan Skarsgård.
Oh, it's a solid cast.
It's a solid cast, and... where's his... Oh, man. Dang it. Anyway, what's his name? I forget his name. The Japanese actor that was in The Last Samurai and The Twilight Samurai.
Mifune?
Yeah, it's... I'm going to go crazy unless I get his name right.
Well, just pull up Last Samurai. It'll come up quicker.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not... Hiroyuki Sanada.
Okay, so I was not even close. Okay.
You just said words.
I just put some vowels together.
You just made a generic Japanese star name.
So
was his name Lee? But
so it's basically he's now, it's like 1980s when the movie opens, or it's the main, told through the modern is, I guess, when the book was written. It's like 1980, so he's in his, whatever that would be, late 50s, early 60s, and Stellan Skarsgård, they're both survived that thing together, and they hang out in like a vets organization, and he meets Nicole Kidman, and he's fascinated with trains. That's been his whole thing. He's always been fascinated with trains. I know the rail times, and I'll take you this time. And they meet, and he's still having basically like PTSD and stuff from what happened in the prison camp in Japan in World War II. And it's just an amazing story. I don't want to go too much into it because it's just I don't want to spoil anything, but it's an amazing story, and the director does a nice job of flashbacks to when he was a young, and the kid who plays a young Colin Firth does an excellent job.
So you get to see like the trains from the different time periods too?
Well, you see, I mean, it's not a movie about trains. It's about a POW, but it's not a train documentary.
And why is it in the title?
Yeah. So they, it's mainly about what was going on in the POW camp, and how they got out of there, and he was obviously like tortured, and he just won't talk about it. And they don't even show that much of it until like the very end. And so it goes back and forth, and then, and this is all in the trailer, he decides that he finds out the Japanese guy that tortured him is still alive, and he goes back there to confront him. And it's just an amazingly powerful
But does he
film.
take a train?
Yeah, he takes plenty of trains.
Thank God.
Jesus Christ.
He won't let it go, will he?
No,
No,
he's the
no,
worst.
I need to know about trains.
Yeah,
This is
he
exciting.
Yeah, it's great.
What scale were they?
Right.
Was it
And Schindler's List was a factory movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is
Well, there were actually trains in Schindler's List.
Yeah.
So
They made red coats.
yeah, this one has trains too. There's plenty of trains. But it's an amazing story of how this guy goes through this, and how Nicole Kidman is dealing with a husband who is broken, this broken man, and also that generation. Like, PTSD is something we're just now sort of talking about.
Now, does it feel like this could be an Academy Award nominated movie?
This is why I'm puzzled. I guess my hope is that there's enough money to make the campaign in the fall
A marketing push.
to get this, because it so far it's like a front runner to me. I mean, I know we're not even shooting.
Oh, so you really like
it's an amazing
okay.
film.
Oh,
and
okay, great. All right, Railway Man.
check it out if you like trains.
Yeah.
No, it's an amazing, heartwarming story, and again, that Japanese actor Sonata is his scenes. He's not in a lot of it.
Is he the engineer?
Yeah. You're the dumbest guy ever. Yeah, he's the Japanese engineer, and they go and they get cakes, Chris.
All right.
Is this what you want to
that's great.
hear?
Yes.
Some sort of Disneyland
And who takes the
fantasy?
tickets?
Yeah, he takes the tickets, and they sing songs. It's like, yeah.
And do they end up at Hogwarts?
Sure, buddy.
where else?
Yeah.
Where else would they go?
It's the train to Hogwarts.
I mean, it's a train from World War II prison camp to Hogwarts that travels through time,
Yeah.
detours through the 80s, picks up a hot wife, and then we're on our way.
Right.
Why don't I write movies?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's an amazing film.
Is there,
This is great.
is there breakdancing on the train?
Yes, Chris. It's got everything.
Great.
Whatever.
How
you
else
want.
are the kids going to get out of the ghetto?
Yeah,
How else will the kids get out of the ghetto if they don't dance?
they've got to save the teen center.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, boy, that grumpy council will not let anyone
I
dance.
know, and that rich guy, he's
Yeah.
the evil dude, and but his daughter's dating one of the dancers, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
So, folks,
speaking
disregard everything we've just talked about
Yeah.
for the last 2 minutes.
And see the Railway
Go see The
Man.
Railway Man.
I'm actually excited to see it now. The way
It's an
what you
intense
said, it
film.
sounds fantastic.
It's an emotional movie, so be ready for that.
Okay. So the Raid 2. Now,
I finally
you
saw it.
got the chance to see it. Now, you had to have seen that before the Railway Man, though, right? Wasn't that priority?
Yeah. I saw Raid 2 first.
Right.
And, it's everything you said. I love the first Raid movie.
It literally picks up like right when the
Right
first
where
one
it left
goes
off,
Mm-hmm.
and I really liked it. You're right; it is a little too long.
Yeah.
It's 2.5 hours. It doesn't need to be. It should be
Right.
2 hours.
Yeah.
But the fight scenes it was one of the most violent movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. Although I thought, I don't know, I could be wrong about this. I thought the first one was so just kind of gory, like really kind of like how many times you get the way they slit throats and shove knives into people's legs. I felt like this one was violent, but it didn't have kind of the gore factor that the first one did as much.
I think what happens with movies like that, because I haven't seen The Raid 2, but I saw The Raid, is they love the fact they can do it. You know what I mean? It's like Quentin Tarantino. It's like, how real can I make this bullet going through this person's body? How real can I make this knife slitting this person's throat? And then the CGI guys or whoever show them, and they're like, wow.
Or how hyper real.
Let's do that. Let's do that 10 times. You know what I mean? It's like, that was so good. We're going to, every time someone gets killed, we're going to show that happening. So, and then when they do the next one, they're like, all right, we did it. You know.
Well, I think that attitude, what you're talking about, is what they did with the second one. I think they did. I mean, obviously the first one obviously had a lot of that, but because of the success of it, they went, all right, we're going to go more, because it was crazier than the first one,
no question.
And some of it was also even almost like comedic, which was like, we're going to just be like over the top in some of these scenes, but it was just.
That scene with the girl with the
girl with the hammers, the deaf girl with the hammers, is just unbelievable. The guy with the baseball bat, it's crazy.
Give me the ball.
Give me the ball. I mean, that stuff is just crazy. And again, the fight choreographer, who was also in the first one as well, plays the kind of long-haired sort of homeless dude.
Yeah.
He's an amazing. He choreographs all that stuff, and it's just spectacular stuff to watch in terms of if you just like martial arts fight scenes like I do. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, it's hard to see them done that well,
right?
You know, it's unbelievable the way it was choreographed. That's where you're going to see the movie for.
Yeah.
I just had my idea for my next train movie. My train is actually going to go from New Jack City to the skyscraper in The Raid, because my train travels through time. So it's literally going to pick up Wesley Snipes and move his empire. All right.
Will they be fighting on the train, or they have to wait till they get off?
No, there's no fight on the train.
Well, there's
That's
a dance
the planning
number on the
stage.
train, right?
Of course, there's a dance number on the train, but that's the planning stage. And oddly enough, Ice Cube is there with 4 kids asking, "Are we there yet?" for the entire train trip. That's the twist.
If this movie isn't made,
I really
makes
need.
No sense to
I
me.
need somebody. Is someone writing this down? Because when these movies come out, they're going to be like, "You owe me money."
Yeah.
Because I came up with that.
check out Alonzo Bodden's time-traveling action train movie franchise.
That's right. I've already done the first 2. I've already come up with the first 2.
They have everything you want.
The sad thing is Wesley Snipes would be available for that movie.
Yeah. Yes,
as soon as he's done Expendables.
Yeah. Paying off his tax bill.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Okay, you saw...
I actually saw Singing in the Rain, and I want to mention this, too, because it was such an amazing experience, is when you get to see an old movie on the big screen. Like, we have the ArcLight here will show old movies, and it's fantastic. It's a different experience. It really is, because these are movies that you may see just on DVD or on TV with commercials and stuff, but to see it in a movie theater, and they're never empty for these revival screenings, especially in LA. They're packed. Like, we had to get tickets in advance just to go see it. We had to sit in the back, and it was unbelievable. And then, they when they introduced the movie, there's some guy who wants to be a comedian who always introduces the movie, does a shtick, and he's like, "I guess we're singing in the rain. I guess you guys won't mind if everyone sings along." And the guy in the back goes, "No." So he leaves, and then we start the movie, and no one sang along. Everyone just actually watched and enjoyed the movie. And there's something about the movie, too, to see, like, you can see not only the history of Hollywood, because this goes into, like, with the dawn of talkies and that kind of era, but you see it as a historical film for 2 different reasons. One, you see it's showing that period in time, but also you can see the period in time that it was shot. And when you see those, and also when you're watching it in a movie theater, it really just kind of washes over you, and just you kind of feel almost like teleported by a time traveling train through back to that time.
We're not going back that far.
Yeah.
Just from the 80s to today.
Just we're not going back that far.
It's a musical, but it's also I've never really liked musicals before. I think when I started to get a little older, I had a little bit more of an appreciation for them, and this one was probably I think arguably one of the best musicals ever made. And it's one of those movies too that, you know, when you see the formulas that the Hollywood movies, especially the musicals, had, it doesn't bother you like oh, it's the leading man, the leading lady, and the sidekick, but they're done so well and they're put together so well. And it wasn't before, you know, you had 50 more years of this formula being copied. It feels genuine and organic when you're seeing it like for the first time when those formulas were first presented.
But do you think that's a function of you're in a theater with a bunch of other film lovers watching this old film? You know what I mean? Like
it's definitely a factor.
The full experience of it. Like if you just went in and saw the movie, you'd be like, eh. I'm not saying that it's, you know, bad or anything, but I think in that situation,
right,
seeing it with a bunch of other people who are into it makes it.
It definitely does. It's like seeing it with a film festival crowd or seeing a horror movie with a bunch of people that are really into it. It definitely brings that aspect to it, and it also helps enjoy the movie more. The other thing, too, is you've got a bunch of film fans that really want to see the movie. So no one's brought their kids. No one's,
texting.
Yeah. So it's like it's even a better crowd of moviegoer that are actually watching this movie. But and it's you see the talent of these old Hollywood stars too. You're like, these people were absolutely fantastic.
Well, that was back in the day when the studio gave you singing lessons, dancing lessons. You knew how to do everything.
You had to learn. You had to be talented.
Yeah.
You had no, seriously. I mean, you actually had to be talented to be in a movie because there was no. We can't fake this. Like, you have to actually dance.
The only downside was that the studios owned you and pretty much worked you to death.
Right. That was a crazy thing. You'd show up and be like, what are you doing today? Today you're doing a Western.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you doing a musical?
Right. Yep. Your contract is not with the movie. It's with the studio and you for the next 5 years or whatever.
It is one of the things that I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles that I absolutely loved was seeing all these old movies. I remember seeing Lawrence of Arabia. I remember the first time I ever saw Apocalypse Now on a big screen was at the Cinerama Dome.
Yeah, it's a different experience.
And I had seen it on video a bunch of times, but in the theater with the sound, the surround sound, and the helicopter literally flying overhead, you heard it go from the back of the theater to the front. That kind of shit is like, that's why we got to own our own movie theater and just play old movies.
Play Apocalypse Now.
24/7.
And on another note, that guy who walks down in the front at the beginning of the movie, worst gig in the world. Right? I mean, honestly, like I'm sure a lot of those guys are comics or want to be worst gig in the world. That's the equivalent of the piano player at Nordstrom, because that guy's a musician and he's playing for shoes.
Yeah.
And
that gig has more dignity than the dude at the movie theater.
You're like, hi, I'm here to annoy you just for a couple of minutes, but nobody here likes me.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is completely unnecessary.
And I'm going to extend this time and make it uncomfortable for everyone.
Yeah.
And the idiot manager who went, we need comedy to introduce the...
No, you don't.
Just show the movie.
The child has suffered enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's hustling tickets or making popcorn. Leave him alone. Don't make him do that too.
And gets heckled? No.
Yeah, he got heckled. Come on, man. He should have just broke character in the moment. Just really, because I have to do this. It's all I got. You heckle me now.
So I would really recommend it if when these old movies come out to the movie theaters, definitely check them out. And I have one question for our fans that are a little older that may have remembered when Singing in the Rain came out. Was tap dancing ever really that popular? like really it
Probably.
felt like it was like the kind of thing.
Can I tell you? Yes.
Okay.
No, and not that I'm from that era, but I watched. They did a special. I think it was like the 75th anniversary of the Apollo Theater or something. It was on TV, and my parents they hung out in that era. During the Harlem Renaissance, 40s, 50s, when you went to live theaters for entertainment and you had big bands and stuff. And my dad started talking about these tap dancers, and he was like, yeah, man, you think, Gregory Hines was a big guy, so you think he was good. Well, he learned from Sammy Davis Jr., and Sammy learned from so-and-so. And they knew, tap dancing was an art because it wasn't just dancing, it was music.
Because it was a huge part of the film.
Back then, in that time, I would say probably in the 30s, 40s, before the 50s, tap dancing was amazing, just like break dancing in the 80s, where it was just like everybody knew it, and it was a talent that if you had it, you showed off. So I would say
that was part of the performance of tap dancing. It was like,
and it was flawless.
Yeah.
I mean, in this movie, if you ever wanted to see what perfect tap dancing looks like,
I would say at that time that would be, again, it was like in the 80s when when breakdancing started, and we had that series of movies, and to this day you still have to breakdance to get out of the ghetto. I don't even know what movie it'll be this summer.
Would you say you have to step
but you had to, you had to step up,
Well, let's we were talking about, let's go into that. You said you grew up in the 70s, and we were talking about superhero movies and how, you've just seen Captain America. But talk about obviously what you thought of Captain America, but then there's so many superhero movies coming out now.
Yeah, and the thing about the Marvel superhero movies, which are much better than the DC superhero movies, just like Marvel comics were much better than DC comics. I just wonder, when are they going to mess it up? Because they've been on a pretty good run. I mean, the Hulk they messed up.
Yeah.
But most of them have been pretty good. And the funny thing with the Spider-Man franchise, for instance, and I'm going to see the new one tomorrow, they corrected it. Because when the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man came out and he was dating Mary Jane, everybody's like, no, he's supposed to be dating Gwen Stacy. And then he hooks up, but this is
after
backwards.
She dies.
Yeah. And everyone knew that. We're like, didn't you read it? And you get into that. And for me, it's fun, especially because if you're with a girl, she knows.
Of the first Spider-Man movie, the reboot.
Oh, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
not great.
I didn't
hate it, but it was. I'll put it this way: it wasn't as bad as I expected it to be.
Okay,
all right. Because a lot of times they ruin it, And this one, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that great. He didn't have Tobey Maguire had the nerd side of Peter Parker down.
Yeah,
he had the part that Peter was just literally that kid that was
fumbling,
a loner and
picked
fumbling
on,
around and, loved the hot girl but would never be able to talk to her. He was the friend who wanted her but couldn't get her. And the new Spider-Man, and I can't remember his name, but
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, he's a little cool, and he's not supposed to be. Peter Parker wasn't cool, and that's why Spider-Man talked so much shit, because he was like, now I'm the coolest guy on earth. So I think that was the big difference. And a lot of times that makes a difference if they get the right actor to play the movie, or if they play the role correct. Like the thing with Thor, and this was in the comic books back in the 70s. And I'm not a comic book guy now. I'll read them now and then, but I'm not expert at what's going on now. But one of the things
you grew up on.
I grew up on. And one of the things with Thor was Thor always had to rein in his power because he was aware he was a god. He would be like there would be a certain point they'd reach and it'd be like, you guys understand, I'm an immortal god. I could destroy this whole planet right now if I wanted to. Just keep that in mind when you're messing with me. He was always like, yeah, I'll hit you, but I'm not hitting you as hard as I could hit you because I'm a god, but the comic books, they conveyed that Thor was the most all of the Avengers combined.
Right.
They had a thing where they got into a fight and they were but they all of them couldn't beat Thor because Thor is a god, you know? So things like that were good.
They also get into more he's not only a god, but he's from Asgard, and they get into the Norse mythology. Even when Odin comes down, I'm like, oh, I remember there was some episodes or some issues of Avengers where they were it was a big reveal. We never really put it together. Thor and Asgard, there's other gods, and you guys are from this other place, and you're all immortal when you come down.
And that's why, and this was funny to me, and when they did the movie and Idris Elba was his character, like there were a bunch of white supremacists mad because there weren't any blacks in Asgard. And you're like, really? Like, you're taking it to that level that's going to upset you that in your fantasy world of fake gods, one of them's black and that made you mad, but overall they stay pretty accurate to the comic books and to the creation of the characters and these storylines, and it's fun. I think they do. I think they do a good job,
and they're interconnected. And the other thing I love about them too is, so far, let's see how they pretty much have like a Pixar streak going on right now. Like, can they continue to not only be good movies and be interconnected, but to continue to surprise us? The way Iron Man 3 surprised us, even Captain America really surprised us.
Yeah.
Can they continue to do that? And I'm hoping the answer is yes, because we have how many years of comic book stories to draw on? I mean, there's a lot of material there, and then that can be mined and changed. And
I have to say that with X-Men, I thought they ran out of ideas, but they're still kind of doing
X-Men.
The X-Men idea last year that they did, the Wolverine one last summer, was just. That was that was really awesome, and they'd screwed up prior. So
it was definitely better. It had a couple missteps, but I agree with you.
I feel like they're finally figuring out, like, so just do the cool stories from the comic book.
Yeah, and I think
that's what you mean. We should stay true to the source material. What?
I think a lot of the writers grew up with the comic books.
Now they have,
like now they're adults, but they grew up and they're like, no, this is how it was, and maybe that's why Marvel took it over. As their own studio, and they're like, we're going to make these ourselves.
And I'll give Disney credit right now; they really haven't been meddling with this formula. I mean, you really
Disney doesn't meddle with a money maker.
Yeah,
I think Disney's like,
I think
really?
You're absolutely right.
Is that another $1 billion franchise? Yeah, you go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Marvel
go ahead
executives.
We'll be here.
We'll be here making toys for you.
We'll take care of the merchandising department.
But I enjoy those movies. They're fun. They're fun.
They really are, and the way they interconnect is fantastic. There's there's going to be a misfire here and there, but on their scorecard right now is pretty damn good.
I want to ask you this, Alonzo. What are you looking forward to, or what would you like to see made into a film?
Wow, that's a good one. You know what I'd like to see as a film? There was a comic book where it was like some weird red sun or something. Somehow Spider-Man got to the same strength as Superman, and they fought. Wow. And it had something.
Was it a crossover?
Yeah, it was a crossover between DC and Marvel.
They did that every once in a while. DC and Marvel did. Yeah.
They fought, and it was great because they brought the two. Like everything came together, you know what I mean? Like Metropolis and Gotham City, and Jonah Jameson was writing about it. Who is this Superman? And it was really good. And I remember Spider-Man was like, he was laughing because he couldn't believe how strong he was until it wore off. Like he's literally punching Superman, and then he hits him, and it doesn't work anymore. And Superman's kind of like, I don't weaken.
This doesn't wear off.
But that was. I think that would be fun.
They had those crossovers too. I mean, we'll never see it in the era of intellectual property and studios owning specific properties.
You never know, dude.
I'd be very surprised because we can't even get crossovers with the ones that the studios own, even though they're all Marvel properties. Like Wolverine was supposed to have a cameo in the original Captain America movie, but they couldn't. Right. Fox wouldn't release the rights. Like stuff like that. And it's stupid because what it would be is promotion for. I mean, it's a dumb decision.
Someone's going to wise up, though.
I hope that's
the money
true.
that's being made with these superhero movies is ridiculous.
True. Because you want to see Spider-Man make an appearance in an Avengers movie.
Of course.
You want to see them. And
I think that. I don't know if that'll happen only because Spider-Man is such a strong franchise unto himself. I think that's the other thing.
It's a different studio right now.
But it's like, let's keep the money over here. Like let's not give them. You know what I mean? Let's not give them too much.
Well, they all have their own movies. Iron Man, Thor, they all have their own movies, and then they go all get together in the Avengers. I think you could still cross pollinate, but you've got these misfires, like even the casting on that new Fantastic Four movie. There was such an outcry. They tabled it. But you also have movies like, you know, some of these older characters, like there's been how many Punisher movies that have been a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, there's all these other characters. Like I would love to see a Power Man Iron Fist movie. I would love to see
I read that as a kid. I'd love to see that.
And just to kind of go through the, you know, all the cool Iron Fist stuff and, you know, the mystic.
You know what I'd love to see? Just once, a live woman as hot as the women are in comic books. The bodies on these, you know, show me one of them live that is as hot as her counterpart. With all due respect to Jessica Alba, Halle Berry, you do not measure up. It's a combination of muscle and curves that you're really like, this was a guy's fantasy all his life. This all his life. He's been waiting, you know, you could just, it was just that. But, and I think that's where they miss on casting. It's funny you mentioned casting. That's where they miss with the women. Halle Berry is not Storm. She just doesn't she doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Jessica Alba, too young to be Mrs. Fantastic.
It was ridiculous.
You know, it's like you have to take a chance on unknowns who look the part of the character.
You ever hear of Hugh Jackman before Wolverine?
Yeah, or even lesser known, you know, who can do it. Like the last Hulk was the best Hulk, you know, even though he was the least known as on the movie star scale. But that would be better. I think that it just makes it more real.
And there's so much
hire people that are fans, like you were talking about before. That's the other thing for writers, directors, actors that know these characters.
Actors, and they're like, "Well, I never read it before I got cast." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here."
And it's like Bryan Singer. He just did an interview, infuriated me about because now the X-Men franchise is getting bigger again. You're coming back now?
Yeah.
And he said, I'd never heard of Wolverine before. You know, this. I'm like, really? You've never heard of Wolverine?
I think that's a great idea, and there's a lot of compelling evidence for when they do cast no names or lesser known names that just look the part, because then it comes to life, and then the comic fans, like people like us or whatever, go, holy shit, that is
what I saw on my panel.
It's a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's a better movie.
I mean, honestly, you know, I guess like Christian Bale, he was pretty big, I guess, when he got Batman. He was pretty big when he got Batman Begins, but I mean even you know, the Heath Ledger and even Tom Hardy, they were pretty big names, but the casting of them was not, it wasn't star power casting.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They cast on Heath Ledger is going to do something amazing.
He's a great actor, and Christian Bale, whatever he plays, he's all in.
Right.
He's an amazing actor. Although I will say, and maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I still say Jack Nicholson was a better Joker. because Jack had the sense of humor. That the original Batman movie, the Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson movie, what it had that the Dark Knight never had was the sense of humor. It was that little bit of, we're insane. Like Jack was like, I'm insane, but I'm a joker. I'm having fun with my insanity versus a pure, sociopath, psychopath.
It's a different interpretation. Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think Christopher Nolan was going more off of the Dark Knight graphic novels, where the Joker was depicted in those graphic novels as just a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, but that's what made it great. That's what made it great. It was like they turned him loose. It was because in real life, if there weren't movies, Jack Nicholson would have been killing people for a long time. Jack Nicholson and Christopher Walken. Jack Nicholson and Christopher Walken. I have no doubt that if there were not movies, there'd be a lot of dead people somewhere because they are nuts.
Well, the other interpretations too, you could see in the anime. I don't know if you ever watched the animated versions of like Batman and stuff. Like Mark Hamill does an amazing Joker throughout kind of the history of the Batman animated shows. But also, like my kids and I were watching Batman Brave and the Bold right now because they're all on streaming, and it's great to be able to see finally the creators are realizing, especially with everything going on with Marvel, is that these superheroes do not exist in a vacuum. There's a whole world of other heroes and villains, and they come in and out of, each other's stories all the time. And it makes every single episode of Batman Brave and the Bold, there's other heroes and other villains. So you can kind of see like, oh, well, no, he's not the only superhero in this entire planet. And you see with the Avengers cartoons, the animated ones, you can actually have all of the characters that aren't grabbed by the other studios. Like you could see the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man interact with the Avengers a little bit here and there. So it's
and that was in the comic books.
It's what the comic books always were, and now I really think film and TV are catching up to like the whole living universe of these comic book characters.
All right, well let's move it on to DVDs.
Well, actually, we got to do an ad. We have a sponsor this week. Yes, this is a new sponsor. This is Sherry's Berries. And now this is important because for Mother's Day, you guys don't want to miss out on ordering your mother some delicious strawberries with all sorts of toppings. Now, it was very smart of them to send us samples. I actually got a sample of these because I was like, well, they're strawberries. They're $20. Is that really kind of worth it? Really? And first of all, they are giant strawberries. They're huge. They're covered in chocolate, nuts, white chocolate. So each strawberry is like a dessert on its own.
Oh,
they're
one.
like giant. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they're huge. So they're really worth it. They're amazing. They taste really good. And then my next question was always like, well, how are they going to ship them? They're going to like spoil in the mail. They actually ship them in like a time traveling train.
I didn't want to get involved
with and then dancers come to your door. They do the worm, and then they hand you the
nice.
strawberries.
And that's how they get out of the ghetto.
So it's actually they ship it in cooling packs, and there's actually cooling packs
really?
in the containers, so it's cool the entire way. So it's really cool. You guys definitely want to check out Sherry's Berries. Now the website, all you have to do is go to berries.com. It's BERRIES.com, and then if you click on the microphone in the top corner and type in comedy film, all right, we're going to try to get this changed.
We're trying to get
it wasn't our choice for the code.
Coupon code should be comedy film nerds, but for right now, it's comedy film.
Yeah, it's comedy film, and that will give you a nice discount.
This kind of stuff, though, I actually love getting gifts like this, and every time I give a gift that's like nice edible food or whatever, people always love it. My mom loves this stuff.
It's brilliant.
It's a perfect Mother's Day thing. Yeah.
It's easy for you, and and they love getting it.
Yeah.
And it kind of beats flowers.
Yeah.
It does.
I say they like, here's giant chocolate strawberries. Mom's like, you're a good son.
Yeah. So remember, Sunday, May 11th, order before then. That's the Mother's Day. So check it out. Sherry's Berries, BERRIES.com.
Berries.
So what do we talk about? DVDs. Not a lot out on DVDs.
Well, there's a Betty Page Reveals doc,
Yes.
which I've seen part of this. I haven't seen all of it. And this looks pretty interesting. I saw a trailer of it. Because I think it goes into, I don't know that much about Betty Page, but it goes into,
And I think she narrates it.
Betty Page narrates it?
I think so, yeah. Take a look at that on IMDb.
All right. I'm going to bring that up in the middle of
Yeah, now see if I'm completely wrong on that, but I thought she did.
Betty Page. Yeah. This is slowing it all down.
Yeah.
Well, here's
Let's
the
talk about the
question
other
while
movies.
it's slowing
You're
down.
right. Betty Page Reveals all. She does, yeah.
There you go.
Do you think the girls who adopt that Betty Page look actually know much about Betty Page?
Probably not.
I'm
I don't think so.
I'm going to go with no.
Yeah. They just, it's like makeup and polka dots. Who is that? No idea.
I don't know. I just look like it.
well, that's the thing. And it's interesting you bring that up because I think most people don't and maybe should know because she was kind of a groundbreaker in terms of, there was like they went after her because she's like, oh, she's a pinup model and she's ruining our children and all that stuff in the the rock and roll era when they were witch hunting, Elvis.
Yeah.
And so it looks like a really interesting doc, so I would check it out.
Now, the next movie is Big Bad Wolves. This is actually a movie from Israel, and it's like a thriller crime, but also has like a comedic element to it. And the interesting thing is they've got, I don't know how much you have to pay for this, but it's got a quote from Quentin Tarantino on it, like, one of the best movies of the year. I don't know if I necessarily trust that, but I saw the trailer. It actually looks kind of fun, so I'm going to check it out on DVD. Big Bad Wolves.
Big Bad Wolves.
And the other DVD I wanted to talk about briefly is I saw the next animated Justice League movie, Justice League War.
Really?
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're kind of relaunching some of these films as they relaunch their comic books with the New 52. So you have some of these classic stories, but now they're telling about how the heroes kind of met, like Green Lantern meets Batman for the first time. Like, I thought you were a myth. The problem with this one is it gets bogged down into too much action. It's like shooting, punching, fighting, and then you don't get the character development or the character interaction that you would want. And one of the downsides to having like Justice League is you have so many characters that you don't have time for those moments with
they have
characters.
to figure out when you do those, you have to figure out how to edit and which characters you're going to use. Just like the Avengers, like there's so many people, so many heroes were Avengers at some point,
right?
But they're like, no, we're just going to pick these.
Here's
five
the core,
or these whatever.
Yeah, and that's like you can see some of the more successful of these DC animated PG-13 movies because they're much more darker and grittier. Are the ones that focus on the specific characters, like Batman Under the Red Hood is still my favorite. Although the Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox, I thought was good. That did have a little more character development.
So overall, you liked this DVD. It's just not amazing.
Yeah, I liked it. It was okay. It wasn't amazing, but I will say is one of the lessons that they're learning from the Marvel interconnectivity of the movies is now they're going to start with these animated movies. A couple of them per year are going to be interconnected. They're doing the same thing. So
now, are there any trains?
Not yet.
Yes, well,
then you don't have a good movie.
But the next movie coming out, I cannot wait to see. It's Son of Batman, and it's actually when Batman and Ra's al Ghul's daughter Talia, they have a son, and Batman didn't know about it because so
Batman's an athlete.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I don't remember that night. What are you talking about?
Sorry. What happens on the road stays there.
There you go. What do you mean? My kid. Sure, he's my kid.
I just happen to have a bat DNA test in my utility bill.
That's right.
So, but it looks great. I can't wait to see
I think that's when superhero movies would be getting too real.
Yeah.
Like if they just started popping up with illegitimate kids and things like that, that's when you'd be like, all right.
The last Superman movie.
Taking it a bit too far.
Before the other one.
All right, so coming out this week is The Other Woman. I can't imagine. The trailer on this is
what fascinates me about this movie when I watch the trailer is like, oh no, this movie's for women. I don't think it is.
No,
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
It might be for women on the revenge aspect. Like that's the only thing. But it's just so funny to watch. I wonder how hard it was to have Cameron Diaz talk about how hot Kate Upton is. Even though like Kate Upton can't act like she's just a body in a bikini, but like Cameron Diaz is like, wait a minute. I'm not like she is. She's the MILF, right? But still, that had to be kind of weird. Say, listen, Cam, you're gonna have to like pass on the title in this one.
Well,
that had to be a weird conversation.
It's just the premise is like celebrating women that sleep with married men or something. Like I can't.
Yeah,
no,
it's
it's the guy getting caught. It's the guy who's a lowlife, right? And he's married to one and cheating with two or something like that. That's what I picked up from the.
It's such a trailer. It's
and the three of them get together and plot his demise.
All gorgeous, by the way. All three gorgeous women. It's like, oh wait, but we're being cheated on. Oh, this is awful. Let's be friends and get revenge.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because women always do that. Women always band together as friends, especially beautiful ones.
Still kind of sounds like a male fantasy because ultimately, man's still getting all the attention.
Yeah. He's going to throw down with all three of them.
Yeah.
All right, that looks dumb. All right, the Quiet Ones.
It does indeed.
The Quiet Ones. Now this looks.
Another like kind of creepy horror movie that's put out before the summer.
And it's supposedly based on a true story.
Sure.
But they all are now.
Like Fargo.
Right?
Yeah, Fargo was. So I don't know. I mean, there's good actors in it. Jared Harris, I like. He was the guy from Mad Men, and he's been in a couple other things, Benjamin Button and stuff like that. So
I don't know. We'll see what Neil thinks of this one.
Yeah.
I think Neil's going to go
I'm curious
see
to know what the horror community thinks.
Horror movies. I mean, I haven't been to a horror movie in a long time, but it just seems like there's one every week.
I know.
It's just like
Especially this time of year.
There are too many of them. It's like, how many mansions can be, haunted, or how many houses are questionable, based on a true story written by a realtor who couldn't sell that raggedy house.
Yeah. So they had to create there was a demon child in the closet. That's why we couldn't sell it.
So next one, speaking of haunted mansions, brick mansions.
Yeah.
And this is another one. How many times are we going to say this is Paul Walker's last film?
Oh,
I mean, at least a couple more.
Tupac did the score.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written by Luc Besson.
It's a remake, actually. It's of a French film. So
if anyone sees it, any fan sees this and wants to write a review.
Yeah, let us know. We'll do a fan review on this. I can guarantee that it'll be muscular people without shirts in it.
And guns.
Mm-hmm, and guns.
I think there's guns and, fighting. All right. That's our show. Right there. That's it. I'm done.
That's a wrap.
Just pull the plug.
Just buy some berries.
Yeah.
Please buy your mother some berries.
Come on. It's Mother's
They'll
Day.
be delivered by train.
Yeah.
Trade berries. All right, Alonzo.
Breakdancing Sherpa.
These are amazing films.
Yeah.
We concocted today's
it's going to be
episode.
fantastic.
Alonzo, where can people find you on the internet? Any upcoming shows? Anything?
My Twitter is at Alonzo Bodden, ALONZOBODDEN, and I really need your fans to follow me on Twitter. I'm in the process of writing a book, and one of the things that publishers want to see is the number of Twitter followers, and so I'm trying to increase the number. So please follow me on Twitter. I'm at 18,000. And
they like 18.5.
Yeah, that's it. So with 5 of you, please follow me on Twitter. And then I use my name. My website is alonzobodden.com, and my Facebook is at Alonzo Bodden. And last year, I had my best online thing, which I don't track this stuff a lot, but somebody pointed out, they said, hey, if you Google Alonzo now, I come up before Alonzo Mourning.
Nice.
But he just got into the Hall of Fame, so I think he passed me again. But for a moment, I was on top, which was cool. So, but anyway, yeah. So follow me online, and always doing live stuff. I'm always touring and traveling. This week I'm in Hollywood at the Laugh Factory, and then next week I'm in San Diego, and on and on.
Nice.
Great.
Yes.
Check them out, guys. All right, so we've got May 7th.
Very special show. It's a summer movie preview show, although some of the movies have already happened, but we're going to get the bulk of them in. Yeah. And special guest Doug Benson.
Right, and one of the fans, 2 people donated for the Kickstarter to be guests on the show. One of them, Pat, lives up in Portland, rather, and he can't come down for this. We're trying to figure out another time for him to come down, but one of the other fans will be there. Doug will be there. It'll be a fun show. It's Wednesday, May 7th at the Hollywood Improv.
Is there a coupon code?
Yes, there is. It's coupon code CFN, gets you a ticket for $5. So,
oh, you can't beat that. What's the normal price? It's like $40.
No, you're being ridiculous, but it's $15, so you could save $10. So yeah, save $10 and come on down to the show, you guys.
Well, let's be clear on that coupon code. That is CFN.
That is CFN.
Yeah.
It's not this other one.
Yeah.
But come down for that show, you guys, and of course
us and Doug Benson for $5 and a summer movie preview.
Come on,
you can't beat that.
And a podcast. You can then listen to yourself laughing, like a lunatic.
Yeah.
So check that out. And of
on
course,
a train.
On a train. Yeah, everything's going to have trains.
Yes,
It'll be alive.
well, there's a train. That's why your guy from Portland can't get here. The train's not running that day, so he won't be able to come down. We'll try to get him here in June.
As soon as we get the next trains up, we're going to get our friend Pat down.
It's that detour you have to make from New York to the tower and the raid.
That's always slows you up.
The train's going to be busy.
Yeah. So from New York to Malaysia, that little sidebar from Portland. So check that out, you guys. And, of course, we are going to be going to Australia and Japan.
We just bought the tickets.
Just bought the tickets.
We're going.
That is happening. We will be in Australia. We land on the 31st, and we'll be there not that long, 5 or 6 days. And then we go into Japan. We'll probably be in Tokyo the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th doing interviews and stuff like that. So hopefully we're going to line up June 1st. Some kind of venue in Sydney.
I'm working on that with CJ right now.
Yeah, to shoot a bunch of interviews,
Yeah.
like fan interviews. Maybe one of the comedy clubs there. We're working on that, so we'll get a venue set up for anyone in Sydney who's a podcast listener and/or podcaster themselves wants to come down and be interviewed for the doc. We'll be there, so check it out.
And we're still working on getting to the mine to see Russell.
Russell, we're going to get you in that mine, no matter what.
Even if you don't work there.
Even if you don't work there. You're now a miner, and we're going to make that happen. That's our storyline, no matter what.
Yeah, it's the magic of filmmaking.
Yeah. Get your hard hat on, friend. All right, guys, those are all of our... just announce this. I'll be headlining the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, June 12th through 14th. Check that out. That's it. Thank you once again to Alonzo Bodden. My name is Graham Elwood.
I'm Chris Mancini, and as always, remember, Han shot first on a train.